When a girl is willing to do anything to get the whereabouts of her best friend, she results in entering the ghost world where people, well now identified as walking dead, feed their souls to the ghouls and become mockingbirds. Guiyu sold her soul to find her best friend, Wu, who was taken by ghouls 5 years ago. When it's time for her master to feast on her, she throws a tantrum and escapes. She reveals that she is in fact still human, wearing a protective film that disguises her as a ghoul, while she tries to hide from the guards. A loud crow appears and dances over her head till she falls into a mountain of pillows that had a ghoul sleeping within it. The crow is relentlessly waking its master till he actually wakes up, much to Guiyu's misfortune. He awakens with an ominous presence and commands Guiyu to turn around. She obeys his wish but disrespects him when she mistakenly chuckles at his conversation with his crow. He goes impatient, declares Guiyu as food, and proceeds to absorb her soul. Guiyu feels so much pain during the process, but her resolve to find Wu stands strong. She makes him bleed by stabbing him in his palm, and this gets him upset. He levitates Guiyu from the peak of his castle but drops her when he gets a visitor. While she dashes into the forest, he picks up the photo of Guiyu and her best friend Wu in childhood. Jingji, who is Ju Tao's friend, recognizes the boy in the photo as Ju when he was still alive. He urges Ju Tao to reveal the truth to her but he declines, on the fact that he harbors some hatred for Guiyu since childhood and promises to make her pay. When Guiyu returns to the dorm for mockingbirds called the Nest, she finds out she misplaced her photo back at the Rose Court, and is unable to go back to get it because she lacks a Nest departure exit. She stands close to a window, thinking of her next move when the ghoul she met previously appears behind her, holding the photo she misplaced. When she reaches for it, he burns it to dust, and this makes Guiyu very upset. She questions his intentions and he declares he would like to devour her till she becomes nothing. He absorbs her soul, tastes it, and is disgusted at how bad it tastes. Guiyu, drained after her soul was restored, falls to the ground but is caught by Ju Tao. The watch guards hear noises and arrive to inspect the scene. Ju Tao takes Guiyu into hiding, without fear of being caught and mocked by Jingji. While they hide, Guiyu notices his scent is similar to that of Wu but is unsure because Ju Tao looks different from Wu. Guiyu becomes flustered after hearing a moaning soundtrack but Ju Tao is familiar, and recognizes that it was one of Jingji's tricks. He orders Guiyu not to go to the Rose Court again and leaves for an important meeting. Before Jingji disappears, he gives Guiyu a hint to help her find Wu. The next day, Guiyu goes for her examination and is blacklisted from feeding hens. Her chance of entering the Rose Court is limited. She mumbles about her predicament when a bell goes off, signaling the arrival of the lords. Amongst the crowd, she sees the Nightingales, the highest rank of mockingbirds that are closest to the lords and reside within the Rose Court. Guiyu thinks becoming a nightingale is her next method to attain her goal of finding Wu. While the crowd cheers for its Royal Highness who is revealed to be Ju Tao, Guiyu questions why he had her blacklisted. He responds that her soul is disgusting and does not deserve to enter the Rose Court. Guiyu overhears a conversation that the Nightingale spot for His Highness is vacant, and she cues to register to be eligible for selection. Guiyu is disregarded by the registrar because she has no recommendation letter and is blacklisted. Just then, an anonymous man, a lord of the underworld, arrives with a recommendation letter for her. Guiyu questions why the strange man helped her but he responds that it's a secret. Before he leaves, he gives her a raffle ticket that wins her a magic ball and the ball contains a random magic spell. Ju Tao is furious when he sights Guiyu and he confronts her about how she got a recommendation letter. The force of his grip on her hand makes the magic ball slide out and smash to the floor. The spell is released and acts on them, which makes them exchange bodies. Guiyu freaks out that Ju Tao might figure out that she's a human wearing protective film, but is relieved to find out the spell changes appearance, not body, and lasts for 4 hours. Ju Tao volunteers to participate in Guiyu's competition on the condition that she keeps the exchange of appearance a secret. The competition begins and Ju, in Guiyu's body, purposely messes up all her tasks, much to her dismay. After the first half of the competition, a break is issued and all contestants go to rest. A mockingbird approaches Ju, in hopes of bullying her but she is rescued by another mockingbird. Guiyu, in his Royal Highness body, seeks to know the cause of Ju Tao's laid-back attitude and declares that if Ju won't get her selected for the competition, she'll have to expose the secret about the exchange of appearance. Guiyu drags Ju Tao to the center of the ballroom and announces that Ju, which is the vessel in her body, is to become his personal nightingale, much to the amazement of the audience. Some hours later, the spell wears off and they are back in their original bodies. Meanwhile, the girl who saved Juta earlier from the bullies expresses her torment for losing the position of the Royal Highness's Nightingale. It is revealed that she is not a mockingbird but actually a ghoul, and she is visited by a strange man who she identifies as a royal because of the color of his horn. He disappears with her, knowing she's an unwanted piece in his plans. While Ju and Gu walk home together, Guiyu asks him about Wu's whereabouts, but instead, he plays dirty with her. Jingji arrives after handling the Nightingale situation Ju created, and instead of thanking him, he gives him another task to take care of Guiyu while he goes away. Jingji tells Guiyu that the quickest way to get Ju's response about Wu is to feed him with her soul. Jingji is disappointed after tasting how disgusting Gu's soul is and gives her supplements. He also gets the maids to tidy up Guiyu and sends her off to feed Ju. Juta gets a hold of Gu's papers and every field turns out blank. He wonders what she's thinking, and if she became a walking dead for her selfish motives like other mockingbirds, or if it was her resolve to find Wu. He falls asleep after much thinking. Later, Guiyu wakes him up to feed, and when he sees a younger version of Gu from his memories, he jerks up quickly and mistakenly hits Gu, making her nose bleed. He reaches to pat her but withdraws after getting a flash of awful memories. The next morning, Guiyu finds out Juta devoured her soul but is shocked to find him lying on the floor unconscious. The royal doctor is summoned and he reveals that Ju is suffering from food poisoning. Jing and Gu are both guilty, Jing thinking it's because of the contaminated ingredient he added to Gu's soul, while Gu thinks it's because Ju gulped the soul of a human. After the doctor leaves, a guilt-tripped Jingji leaves Guiyu to cater to Juta, though that was not his request. While she laments over her situation, she sees a fallen photo frame on his desk. She raises the frame and sees that it's the supposedly burnt photo of her and Wu. She wonders why Ju would frame her photo and questions him about it, but instead, he falls unconscious over her. Guiyu takes care of Ju, who is unappreciative of her efforts. Ju is frustrated at how sick he is and recalls the last time he felt like this was when he was a human, with Guiyu by his side. From his memories, it is revealed that Wu was a mere human vessel for Juta, who was born as the Prince of Ghouls. Years ago, when Jingji visited Juta in the human world, he delivered his drug and also came with important news of Lion Ren's return. Lion Ren is revealed to be Juta's brother, the ghoul who granted Guiyu passage into the ghost world, and also the ghoul who delivers Guiyu's recommendation letter. When a young Guiyu arrives to check on him, he ends his conversation with Jingji and returns to Wu's body. Presently, Guiyu still sits by Juta's bedside and caters to him just like when he was living as Wu. Juta recalls a memory from his sick past as Wu and asks Guiyu to do it by pressing her forehead on his. She rejects the request, knowing fully well the protective barrier that hides her human temperature doesn't cover her face. However, he forcefully pulls her in and their foreheads touch. Juta is stunned at how Guiyu rejects him and decides to remind her about her role as his nightingale. After proper care from Guiyu, he wakes up the next morning to discover that his fever is gone. He sees Guiyu passed out on a couch, covers her, and watches her sleep while muttering Wu's name. He joins hands with her in assurance, recalling his first encounter with Guiyu was a lost bet. Years ago, he lost a bet with Jingji, therefore, he had to fulfill a dead person's wish. Usually, anyone would wish for wealth, life, and stuff like luxury, but Wu's last wish was that his death does not leave Guiyu sad. Very touching and intriguing. Jingji forces Juta into the human world to accomplish the bet that was made. Juta wakes up in Wu's body and meets Guiyu, who is very affectionate about his broken ankle. When Ju's invisible ghoul friends make fun of him for being vulnerable next to Guiyu, he immediately labels her actions as extremely annoying. He sends her on impossible tasks which she willingly and happily does for her best friend. Guiyu noticed the attitude difference in Wu and wondered what could be the problem. While he played with a cat, Guiyu watched him being happy from afar and got second thoughts that she could be overreacting. Some group of boys approached Wu and acted hostile towards him. Suddenly, Guiyu charges from a corner with a broom and beats up the boys. After her heroic act, Ju admits that his hatred for humans reduced just a bit. At that moment, Juta stares at Guiyu, watching her sleep. He wonders if the Wu she searches for is her actual best friend who passed away or himself. That brings us to the end of Flowers in the Secret Place Part 1. Thank you for watching. If you would like Part 2, then please comment down below. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get our channel's posts as soon as they get published.